Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. This is Daniel Ackerman, your Manhattan and Brooklyn listing specialist. And what we're talking about in this week's video is the benefits of selling your Manhattan property quickly, why it's a good thing to sell your Manhattan property quickly. It's something that's maybe a little counterintuitive to some people. Certainly certain parts of it are counterintuitive, and it's something that maybe a lot of sellers maybe don't give a lot of thought to, that it's actually a very, very good thing to sell quickly, and it typically means that you will profit more. You'll walk away with more money in your pocket, which is what everybody wants. So let's talk about why it's a good thing to sell your apartment quickly. First thing is pretty obvious. It just lets you move on with your life. It lets you move on to the next step. Usually selling is a stressful thing. It's always involving some kind of a move, or you've already done a move and you've got this apartment or this property that's just kind of there. And it can be a stressful thing. So selling quickly gets rid of that stress as soon as possible, and that's always a good thing. And it just lets you move on with your life. So that's obviously item number one, is move on. Now, related to that is I want to specifically zero in on relocations. Now, relocations are a really tricky thing when you are relocating out of Manhattan or into Manhattan. And the reason for that is that the closing timelines in Manhattan are so different from pretty much everywhere else in the country, right? We have co-ops that take a long time to close. When you get into contract on a co-op, you could be closing in months. Right? But when you're selling, certainly these timelines can impact you. And in particular, if you're buying somewhere else, and especially somewhere out of state, in a lot of places out of state, closings happen in 30 days. And closings here in Manhattan can take 90 days minimum. So if you need your sale to close in order to purchase your other property, you're potentially run into a problem there, because your Manhattan property won't close in time, and then you're going to incur costs having to extend the contract period and your rate lock on the purchase on the other end. So selling quickly as possible, you can't. We are all subject to the realities of the Manhattan market. So you can't close a co-op in 30 days when you're using financing. It just isn't going to happen. But closing quickly as possible allows you to more easily time, the purchase on the other end, or your rental on the other end, or what have you, when you are relocating. So with relocations especially, selling quickly is a real benefit. Now, here's one of those things that I mentioned is a little counterintuitive. You will probably sell at a better price if you sell quickly. A lot of people doubt that. A lot of people think, well, if I don't want to do a fire sale on my apartment because I'll leave money on the table. Well, that's really not possible. And here's why. Buyers are savvy. They're smart. They know the values of properties. And most of them are working with agents anyway, professional agents who know the values of properties and know when something is a good deal and when something is overpriced. Now, what happens is when something is overpriced, people just don't make offers. And so you'll sit on the market, and then what happens is people will see that you've been on the market for a while, and they'll think that they can lowball you. So you're going to get lowball offers, and you're going to get very few of them at that. So you're not going to have any negotiating leverage, which is super, super, super important, right? You want to have that negotiating leverage, but you won't have it because you'll have very few offers coming in, and you'll be getting those lowball offers as well. But when you price your apartment attractively to sell it fast, what's going to happen is that everyone's going to see that that's a good deal. That's an attractive listing. And so you're going to draw all of that traffic in an ideal situation, and assuming that you're marketing well, which we're going to talk about more, but you're going to draw all of that activity, and people are going to offer on your property. And what happens is when you have more offers and more activity, you have more negotiating leverage. You can negotiate a better price, and more importantly, or as importantly, you can negotiate better terms. Terms are super important because they can save you in a lot of situations. So it's counterintuitive, but selling quickly generally means you're going to sell at a better price. Now, in a related, sort of another related item to that is you're going to protect your equity and have lower costs. So if you think about this, an apartment, let's say an apartment's got a $5,000 a month monthly cost. That's the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance or common charges. So let's just say it's $5,000 a month, and it's listed for $1 million. Okay, and another one, same apartment, is listed at $999, $1,000 less. Okay, but the one that is listed for $1,000 less spends a month less on the market and sells for list price. And now let's say the $1 million apartment stays a month longer on the market and sells for the same price as the other one, or even sells for list price at $1 million. The one that was listed lower actually made more money because you had less costs. You had $4,000 less or $5,000 less in mortgage, maintenance, and insurance and taxes and all of that because you sold a month faster. So you had lower costs. Similarly, you'll protect your equity. Your equity is the money that you've built up into the property. And if you stay on the market and you're eating out of your profit, that's eating into your equity, right? Or if you run into any problems, you can run into problems when you don't have good terms, when you don't have strong terms because you've had to sort of haggle and you've only got one offer and you're in a weak position, you don't have strong terms, you don't have a strong buyer, let's say, and you're selling in a co-op, that buyer could get denied, right? But you had to accept that buyer because you were desperate, because you priced too high and you didn't have any other buyers. So you took the one that you had, and now they're getting denied. And that's going to cost you a ton in your equity because now you're going to have to relist. You're going to get lowballed again. So protect your equity by selling quickly. So how do you actually sell quickly in Manhattan? Well, there's a couple of different things you can do. Obviously, number one, you got to prepare your property. Clean it up, declutter. Sometimes you need to renovate. Do everything you can to make your property as attractive, physically attractive, and visually attractive as possible. Fix any things that needs to be fixed, do any repairs that need to be done, spruce it up as much as possible. Sometimes you don't want to go too overboard in renovations and things like that, but definitely make it look as good as possible. Manhattan buyers especially are very, very luxury conscious, I would say. Even in the non-luxury segments of the market, everybody wants that luxurious look. So make sure to do what you can to make your apartment look as good as possible. Secondly, just as I mentioned before, you've got to price it right and you've got to know the market conditions. This is, again, an area where you can get a lot of good advice from an experienced real estate agent, but you've got to price it where it will sell and sell quickly so that you have, you protect your equity, you lower your costs, you maximize your negotiating leverage, and you get the best price possible. So you've got to price it right. And that comes with knowing the market conditions. Knowing what's going on in the market is going to help you with that pricing. And that's really where the expertise of an experienced agent is going to be invaluable. And lastly, you've got to market the property well. You've got to have professional photographs, hopefully professional video, a really, really good listing, a very attractive listing. You've got to have an agent that's going to do social media marketing, email marketing, obviously online marketing, and really sophisticated and market everywhere. There are hundreds of real estate websites out there, and you want to make sure that you're using an agent that can get on all of them. And you want to make sure that you're using an agent that will also cooperate with other agents in the area because they're going to be the ones that bring you the buyers, right? They're the ones that have the buyers. Your listing agent is making sure to attract all of them. So you got to make sure you work with a listing agent that's going to cooperate fully with the brokerage community. If you do those things, you should be well on your way to selling your property quickly. And if you sell your property quickly, you should be well on your way to the next stage in your life, having gotten the best price possible on your apartment, made the most profit on your apartment because you lowered your costs, and just having the best possible outcome to what's usually a fairly stressful situation. But you can make the best of it by following these steps. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this information helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And, make sure you check out our other videos as well. We've got a ton of videos on our channel. You'll see links to that on your screen. And you'll also see some links in the description below. But make sure to check them out. And if you find this information helpful and you want more of it, you might want to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. You'll get notifications of all our new videos. Also, make sure to check out our podcast. We've got Real Talk with QHT. That's our podcast. You can find that on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to that and download all of our episodes. And you can check out our website at queenshometeam.com. Our website has a wonderful blog where there's actually a full article for this topic, and you'll see a link to that in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.